Hey, hi everyone, welcome to the QESSIK Project Research Seminar. To begin with, we are honored to have our project coordinator, Dr. Heather Cole, to share a few words with us.
So good afternoon, everyone. So welcome to today's research seminar. It's my pleasure to open the event on behalf of the ICAP project, proudly supported by the QESS Fund. ICAP project is the collaborative project between the Tung College and the Hong Kong Baptist University School of Continuing Education. Our shared goal is to strengthen our students' capabilities in doing research projects. So we have already conducted several research seminars before and provide students and participants with different basic research skills in different seminars. So I would like to thank the QESS funding for their generous support and express our gratitude to the project team's members from the Tung College and the Hong Kong Baptist University for their partnership and hard work in mentoring and preparing this project. Thank you all, especially our speaker today and participants, all guests. Well, it's time to begin our seminar. So yes, before that, shall we do the photo taking?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Cole. And next, we would like to invite our project leader, Professor Wilma, to present this certificate to our speaker. Thank you, Dr. Wong, and thank you, Professor Wilma. And next, we would like to invite all our guests here to join us for a group photo. Thank you all our guests here. And next, we would like to invite all our participants here to join us for a big group photo.
Photos together. 影合照。
其實 A 邊就 A 邊，人過嚟，人過嚟。
哦，係咪？對對對，好，好好。Yes.
Yeah, thanks for all the participants. Yeah, thank you all. And next, we would like to invite our moderator today, Dr. Ice Trey, to introduce our speaker.
Hello. So this is Dr. Wong Kin Chi. We can call him Chi. If you have any question to ask him later on. He received his PhD from Department of Statistics in CU, Chinese University of Hong Kong. And he is really good at doing quantitative research analysis. So you are going to do research very soon, right? And I don't know whether you are planning to do any survey research that is using questionnaire to get data and then think about how to analyze that. Dr. Wong, expert of that. Listen carefully about how to do an analysis and how to design for your survey research. So give the time to Dr. Wong for his presentation.
Thank you, Ice, and thank you, Professor Wilma, thank you, Heather, thank you, Terence, Circle, and thank you very much for the QESS ICAP project team member give me opportunity to share you doing survey research. And this is me, and then the presentation PowerPoint. Okay, can anyone see the screen? Okay, this is the only graphics in the presentations, no worry. Okay, today I would like to share about survey design and data analysis. This is me, don't need to waste time on that. Today's objectives, I have three main objectives. The first, I would like to let you to understand how the survey used in research purpose. Okay, it is different from the surveys that's for daily life decision-making application sense. And second, I think that's very important for you to know that is we have good research questions and then we have good questionnaires so that I will help you to know, understand how to formulate the research questions, and then such that your questionnaires will be aligned to your research questions so that you can easily to do the data analysis and then you can report your findings and make a very good conclusions for your research project. And then the third part that is you need to know about why we need to do statistical tests, statistical analysis. But because we have only 90 minutes, I can't cover all the tests and I can't go to too technical. In my institutions, if we would like to conduct a workshops for a single analysis, for example, linear regressions, we use 3 hours to talk regressions to postgraduate students. Because learning statistics, we need a computer in front of us, and then we do the procedure steps by steps. And I think due to the time limitations, I would like to only introduce some tests, and then more importantly, I would like to share why we need to do the test and the basic procedures. And then I would like to let you to know the most important key to understand the statistical results by watching the values of the p-value. What is a survey? Okay, we do survey anywhere. We can see survey anywhere. Cost evaluations, okay, program evaluations, marketing research. When we're going to buy, after buy some products, we've got a survey, customer satisfaction survey, even census, general household surveys, and then some survey related to medical research. We can see any surveys. But what is surveys? There are some important features. That is, survey is a systematic method to collect self-reported information. Okay, remember, we are human beings. We receive a survey and report what we know, so that it is a self-report in the nature. We won't send the surveys to anyone. We only the survey is always target a specific group of the people, those group of people that we are interested in for our research study. We ask the same questions for all people, so that same questions are standardized. The survey, we are not going to ask you to write a composition with 400 words. We are provided very structured questions, multiple choice, true or false, rating of scales from 1 to 7. These are actually numbers. The data collected are primarily in quantitative in nature. And then once we got the data, we can analyze and summarize the data numerically. That's the characteristic of the survey. So I would like you to know there are two main purpose of doing survey. The first one is for applications that we always encounter in our daily life. The applications sense the survey is designed to inform the local actions and practical decisions. Okay, the survey is supported by a company, an institution, or government. They have their purpose, they have their focus. Okay, they have a questions to ask, they have some research to do for their interest. So they pay to do a survey. They need the data, they need the results to support their practical decisions, okay? For planning, for improvement, for actions, okay? For examples, cost evaluations. We do cost evaluations not only to find the teachers, but we need to know how teachers, what aspects doing well, not doing well, and then we got the data, and then we study the overall phenomenon of the teaching and learning environment. Also, we do customer satisfaction survey. We need to improve our product. We should improve the future customer experience. Web page survey, okay, telling us what about thing about working environment. Let the senior management know what we can do for further improvement. And also in the newspaper or the TV news, we always see that some community surveys conducted by NGO to concern about some social issues such as minimum wages, women rights, and then they do the survey and then they report the results and then they use the results to inform the public and report the government that, okay, here are those data and then I hope you can to take some follow-up actions. That's the application's sense of the survey. But what we are going to do is not applications in sense. We are doing survey for research. We are going to design a survey to answer some research questions. We hope that the findings of the questions can contribute to a broader generalized knowledge, okay? We hope you again have designed a survey to understand more about the patterns of human behavior, attitudes, and then explain why some behavior happens, what associated attitudes, judgment related to those behavior. And then these findings, these survey findings, will be for the knowledge development, for research, and for wider context. Okay. If we're doing application research, we have agendas. Here are the examples of the survey for answering the research questions using dating apps, influence of social media foodies, okay? Why some people spend too much on playing UFO catchers, okay? Motivation and habits of using AI chatbots for emotional support. We can use the survey to answer this question to understand more about human behaviors. So before designing the survey, we would like to let you know what surveys can do and what surveys cannot do. Okay, survey relies on self-reporting behavior. Okay, if you would like to self-reporting, okay, answering a question in the survey, we hope that the response are clearly correct, reliable, right? So that we need to ask questions that allow the participants to clearly record, and they hope that they can report honesty. Okay, what sort of data we can use surveys? Okay, for example, background information. I mean, not sensitive ones, some very basic facts, and then, for example, gender, age group. Okay, and then these are the basic informations, and some behaviors and habits. For example, recent in this week, how many times have you buy coffee? How many times have you called Uber to travel? Okay, we can ask them about frequency, how much they spend. We have capture more information about their behaviors and habits. Okay. And third, we can use surveys to collect their subjective judgments, for example, their perception, their agreement, the importance of some statements, okay? And then often we use Likert scales to measure the agreement on those statements. We will come across it later. And then you can use the surveys to capture the psychological state. It is quite advanced topic, okay? We can use questionnaire to capture respondents, the level of anxiety, stress, okay, life satisfactions, burnout, but it is a very technical aspect because we can't create the questions, the items on our own. If we want to study anxiety, we want to study stress, we need to find some very well-known, validated, reliable instruments, already widely adopted scales to measure those psychological states we will come across later. And of course, survey can capture some indicators. We can imagine that is related to the outcome. For example, expected GPA, hours we sleep, and then confidence level, whatever, some variables, some indicators, some measures that related to the results. Okay, seems that survey can ask so many attributes about self-reported behavior, but we mind that some behavior are not suitable that captured by surveys because you cannot, or you are very difficult, or you are not likely to obtain a true, correct, reliable response. So avoid this answer asking these questions. The first, subconscious habit. That means you're doing something you don't know, you don't aware of. Okay, for example, phone checking, drinking during the class. Okay, frequency of losing focus during the lecture. Okay, frequency of checking our cell phone during lectures. The second issue that we are not recommend to use survey to ask that is the highly sensitive topics. Okay, when those questions related to social undesirable behavior, people are not going to answer it honestly. Okay, they worry that their information will be discovered. They worry that some secrets will be discovered. They will not tend to answer or give the true answers. The third questions we are not recommend you to ask that is some events that really occurred a long time ago. Okay, you know, human memory is imperfect. Okay, we can't remember two details about 1 year ago or even yesterday. Okay, so if you ask your participants to recall how many times, how many money you spent for dinner outside in a McDonald's last year, I'm confident that we can have a very true or very reliable answers. Okay, I guess including me, before learning survey research method, I would believe that, it's survey research is just doing some, I start opening the Google Forms, okay? Okay, then I think some questions, throwing some questions to the Google Form. Oh, I got the survey. And then I post the link to the social media, and then I ask my classmate to complete the surveys. And then after collect the data, it's time for me to how to analyze the data, but I don't know how to do it. So help, what should I do? And then I don't know how to analyze data. I don't know what I focus on, and I worry that how to write the reports. Okay, is that survey research? No. In this session, I would like to emphasize that survey research must start with a clear research questions, not a questionnaire. So before opening the Google form, I recommend you to think clearly about your research questions. What are you going to study? Okay, research question that defines you what you would like to understand and explain. Okay, the questionnaire is just a tool, but in your research project, you use this tool to actually collect the data to answer your research question. The research questions is the key for your project. Okay, the data is just a evidence or support to answer the research questions. Okay, I think most of the people expect that time spent on the questionnaire design, data collections, data analysis is spend your majority of time, but I will tell you that you should spend many times on planning the research questions carefully. You spend more time on planning, the less time you need to save. You have saved a lot of time for questionnaire design, data collection, and analysis. Trust me. Okay. Sorry. Here are the steps I recommend for planning your first survey research. Okay, the procedures or what I will share later on may not exactly the same, in the textbook, but just based on my experience and based on what I hope students should do, and I believe you are able to do. Here are my suggestions. Okay. The first step is to identify a broad research idea you are interested in. Second, we start narrowing down the research idea. First, we define the target population group and then give a context. First step, we need to narrow down our research idea. Okay, make sure that we only are focused on few specific areas such that the topics we do are manageable. Okay. Otherwise, if the research question is too big, it's very difficult for us to have a good quality of the data, and that it's difficult for us to explain the result clearly. And then we can formulate the research questions clearly. And then once we got the research questions, and actually we know how to analyze the data, and then now you can build a questionnaire. But what sort of questionnaire? In this session, I would like to focus on user considerate questionnaire. You design the questionnaire thinking about who fill your questionnaire instead of starting from my researcher point of view. Okay, think about other people first when design questionnaire. And then suppose you think they collect the data analysis, collect the data, doing the data analysis, and report the finding will do a lot of work. But in these workshops, I will spend all the time on point 1 to point 6. First step, identify the broad research idea you are interested in. I suggest you to find a topic you're interested. Actually, in everyday life, we can observe many interesting issues in our daily life, especially social media, especially in press. I think that you can find a lot of inspiration on thinking about the research topics. Okay, why so many parents call their son name Jaden, Hayden, Haley? Do you think that's very interesting? Do you wonder why there's so many parents want to call their son Jaden? I think it's a good idea to study. Okay. Using AI chatbot for emotional support, why they use AI, why they don't talk to their friends, talk to their parents, talk to their peers. Okay. Of course, taking your mobile phone, you have many research ideas. Okay, watching short dramas, 短劇, 短劇啊, and purchasing behavior in mobile games, 課金啦. Okay, relationships, situationships is a very recent topic. It's very interesting, I think. Slash what's the behavior behind, okay, slash career. And also when you're watching YouTube, you can also think about many research ideas. Okay, influence of KOL, influence of foodie, how they are videos persuading you to go to the restaurant they're promoting. That's a very interesting phenomenon that we can further develop to our research. Okay, suppose I want to investigate, okay, I'm interested in using AI chatbots for emotional support. Is that already, we can start developing the questionnaire? Not yet. Okay, next, we have to narrow down, refine, okay, first we need to define the target population and the context, okay? If we're asking all living people about using AI chatbots for emotional support, it's too wide. We can't survey many people. Okay, if we just focus on tertiary level of students in Hong Kong, do you think more confidence to collect more data on this group of people? Or if you think that, oh, I think that I want to also study secondary school student together with tertiary student, I think that's okay. So that make sure you understand what specific groups of people you are going to studying, okay? And am I just using chatbot? Study just using chatbot is to why you can use using AI chatbots for doing assignment, using AI chatbots for recommend a stock for a buy, using AI chatbots to predict the football match results. You can use AI to do anything. Okay, but if we don't refine our questions, if we don't refine our context, your research questions will become more vague and not clear in your questionnaire. You ask too many things. So I recommend you to narrow down, give a context. So that in this research, I may try to use using AI chatbots for emotional support related to academic stress or relationship issue. I just select two areas. Okay, some remarks when we doing making the online questionnaire. Make sure that if you just target secondary school students or tertiary students to answer questions, make sure that you have to include the screening questions. Otherwise, your data will contain primary school students, kindergarten school students, or students are already graduated, okay? So that the data are not representing the groups of people you are studying, okay? And keep in mind that the survey findings, okay? If you got the data analysis, you got the results, remember that the results only applied to the population and the context that already specified, okay? If your research questions, your research is only studying secondary school and primary school students, okay? The results, you cannot extend the results to the group of the people of age 40 to 60, okay? These are two groups of people and you don't have their data, you don't have their response, so that it's very dangerous or it's not responsible to use other results to generalize to another group of the person. Please remind that. And then next, narrow down to the topics to a few and manageable areas. Okay, I think it's a quite abstract idea, right? So I try to refine some, I try to give suggestions of how you can narrow down the topics, okay? You can think about their background information, their behaviors, some their judgment, and some indicator that are most relevant to your research interests, okay? And once your research focus is clear, okay, you can list the relevant variables very easily, okay? And why we need to narrow down? Because we don't need to ask too much questions. Okay, too long questionnaire make your data analysis more harder. The respondents are not likely to complete all the questionnaire. Avoid the questionnaire too long. Okay. I think it's quite abstract, so that I try to bring more, elaborate more with give you some examples. Okay. When we focus on background information, we can think about the background characteristic of those group of the people that relevant to your research. Okay, you want to describe more about your target group of respondents. We would like to interest their academic background, socioeconomic status, and social demographic background. Okay, what types of variable if we want to know more about academic background? Year of study, major, full-time student, part-time student, the university student, associate degree students, we can collect many demographic variables from academic background. Socioeconomic status, okay, I usually think in private flats, public estates, and then you got monthly family household income, monthly salary. You can ask the questions. You can have the variables related to socioeconomic status. And then next, if your research questions are somehow related to the behavior or habits, you can think about what people actually do that is relevant to your research interest and can be reliably recorded and reported. For example, I would like to focus on that dining and consumptional behavior. I can focus on social media usage related to food and restaurants, so that if we got the focus, we can think about the relevant variables, about the frequency, about the type of restaurant we visit, the time spent, the money spent. We have many variables that are relevant to our focus. Judgment, any items that you think that they have the feelings, the importance, the perception, the belief related to your research interest. Okay. For example, how much you trust the recommendations by the foodies. Okay. How we can rate about the restaurants recommended by foodie is true information, it's not false. Okay, we can design some questions to rate the agreement of the scales and indicators. And what sort of indicators, what sort of variables that you are interested in examining that reflect some performance indicators related to the behavior, GPA, sleep duration, self-reported coping confidence level. These are the related indicators related to our potential research topics. Okay, of course, we can use, we can think about focus on particular psychological states, but remember, do not create your own questions. If you want to measure stress, anxiety, use existing relative scales from the academic literature to measure them accurately. Okay, these are the scales. These are one of the scales. You can see that there are the 10 items. You write for each questions, you need to answer. It is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then after you got the data, okay, those instructional manual will tell you how to calculate the scores. Okay, this is the stress scale. It's called perceived stress scale. It's a scale measuring stress. We need to do 10 questions for each person in order to get a score for stress. Okay, and then you can see that, okay, we calculate the score based on the 10 items, and then we can know that, oh, if this one score 0 to 15, we consider as low stresses. We can classify to a group called low stresses. 14 to 26, moderate and higher than 27 is classified as high perceived stress. Okay, I think now I would like to focus more about what variable that helping to capture the background information and judgment. I give you show you more some examples that help you to more understand. Okay. There are many relevant variables that can capture the background information. I believe that some of you may heard about nominal variables, ordinal variables, and continuous or some called interval or scale variables. No worry. Nominal variables that are those variables that only contains the categories. There are no natural order. It's used for classification. For example, a variable color, the values are red, orange, white, black, used for classifications of the color of the object only. There are some typical nominal variables that capturing the background information, gender, faculty, housing, the device used for studying, employment status. You can see that the values are not relevant, cannot be ordered each other, so that we call that nominal variables. For the ordinal variables, that the values can be ordered. For example, year of studies, year 1, 2, 3, 4, it shows a natural order. Household income bracket, okay, instead of asking the exact number of the household income, we use grouping. We group the income into brackets. Education background, okay, self-rated proficiency. These are the ordinal variables that relevant to the background information. Continuous variables is asking this question, asks the participant to input the numerical values. For example, age, time, hours, GPA. If we ask them to input the number, this is called continuous variables. Okay, I will introduce some variables that capturing the habits, behavior. Okay, it is important for you to decide what aspect of the behavior you would like to capture. Okay, behavior can be captured in many aspects. For example, what types of activity you involved in? Where does the behavior usually take place? How do the people carry out the behavior? Okay, these aspects of capture belongs to nominal variables. If you're asking about the frequency, duration, the amount spent or quantity spent related to the behavior, here are some examples. Okay, you can decide whether the participant to input the exact numbers of frequency, duration, the amount, but more in a more user-friendly, in a more considerable sense, we recommend you to use ranges. Okay, specify some ranges for participants to select their which category are they belong to. And some captures, and if we want to capture the reasons of the behavior, of course we can add some a question asking about whether when it apply. Okay, why? It is because of what you can take whatever it applies, but you can also use Likert scales to ask them whether do you agree the reason that affects you on this behavior? Use the ordinal, use the Likert scale. You can rate how strongly you agree of each reason, whether it is important. You can give a Likert scale on that. Okay. Here, I would like to talk about some variables that capturing the perception and judgment. We usually use Likert scales to ask the participant to rate whether they agree or not agree on the particular statements. You can see that you can use 5-point scales, 6-point scales, and 7-point scales, whether the 6-point scales do not have the options of neither agree or disagree. If you insist to use 6-point scales, that means that you are not allowed the participants to take a neutral position. Okay, when you're doing the Google form, you can just put the items on the row and then, oh, this touch screen, sorry. Okay, when the column side, you can label strongly agree, from strongly agree to disagree, and they just put the question header on the top. It's quite easy to do it on the Google form or Microsoft forms. It's not straightforward, so I won't like to spend time to show you how to do this, but just let you know that these are the Likert scales for asking about some perception or judgment related to the capturing the behavior. Okay, some of you asked, okay, what should I use? 5-point scale, 6-point scale, or 7-point scales? And I don't give you a absolute answer, but if you would like to use these questions for compare means and contact correlation, regression analysis, that means that if you would like to do statistical analysis of these variables, I recommend you 7 might be better than 5. And then one more remark that I want to mention that is keep consistent of the order of the scale. Okay, what means that is, okay, in this question, okay, the scale starting from strongly agree to strongly disagree, and throughout your questionnaire, you should follow this order. You can't use the order strongly agree to strongly disagree in the first page, and then in the second page you start from strongly disagree to strongly agree. That you make the scale reverse. It's consistent behavior is not a good practice in designing the questionnaire. Okay, I think I should give you a more clear example when I try to do a research related using AI chatbots for emotional support. I want to try to focus. For the background information, I would like to try to focus on academic or personal characteristic. Okay, I may include year of study, majors, recent GPA or relationship status that may be related. Okay, and habits. Okay, what sort of habits related to using AI chatbots for emotional support? Okay, I would like to focus on how students seek emotional support and how often they relied on different sources of AI chatbots. For example, I would like to include some variables that frequency of seeking emotional support from peers, family, or professional. I would like to compare that when it is more AI usage is more than finding peers, friends, or professional for seeking emotional support. I would, in the questionnaire, I would like to include types of AI chatbot used for emotional support. They like to use Gemini, Copilot, or ChatGPT, or Grok, or even DeepSeek. It seems like DeepSeek is very good for emotional support. I heard it. And then I would like to include that, okay, what sort of emotional support I would use AI? Is this for like a tree hole, serve as a tree hole? Asking AI to motivate me, asking AI to give me some advice on relationship issue. I can ask this question related to the habits in our questionnaire. Judgment, I would like to narrow down the judgment items related to using AI chatbot for email support. I'm focusing on the evaluation and perception of AI chatbot. Okay, whether they provide me what's the perceptions of their AI support. For example, perceived empathy, trustworthiness, usefulness. Okay, of course, I would like to study about do you have any privacy concerns about your data? Okay, for some indicators, wearables, I may focus on the confidence in coping stress. Okay, I would like to know, is more time spent on using AI chatbot for remote support, I have more confidence in coping stress. I would like to know, so I would like to include these wearables. For example, I will include wearables, something like confidence is coping with academic stress, confidence is in coping with interpersonal and emotional challenges. Okay. I hope that you can get more idea of how to narrow down your focus and brainstorm about what sorts of variables that link to your research focus. That's the end of the third step. And the fourth step is to link up your focus, the focus already narrowed down. Connect the research focus into research questions. Different types of research questions allow you to link variables in a different ways. I will talk about soon. You can do simple descriptions of the variables, and you can, in your research question, you can relate more deeper analysis for examining these two variables are associated together. These variables, outcome variables, can be explained by a set of other judgment behavior variables. This step helps you to transition from deciding what to design to what you are going to find out. Okay, the first way, the first type of the research questions that is to describe your variables. Okay, you can summarize the data. You can, without making the comparisons, just report what the data looks like. For example, how often do people eat out each week? What is the average level of trust in foodies recommendations? What proportion of students use AI chatbots for emotional support? This descriptive information help we know to know what's overall phenomenon, what's about the data. But is that enough? We can do more. We can do comparison. Okay, we have many groups. We can compare the outcomes, the behavior across gender, year of study. We can do many comparisons to think about are these behavior are the same or different across group. Okay, typically we use a continuous variable, that means number or a Likert scale. Okay, compare them across the group that defined by another variable, typically a nominal variable. Okay, for example, we can compare the level of trust in foodies across different age groups. We can also compare the satisfaction level with restaurant choice between the people who follow or subscribe to foodies YouTube channel or those who are not. We can compare are there any differences. If you think that the comparison is not satisfy your research needs, you can consider about correlational questions. Use the questions to examine whether the two variables, okay, they are usually continuous or Likert scales variable, are associated to each other. Association means that change of one variable will also implies the change of another variable. Okay, the changes can be in positive. That means that one going up, another one going up. The negative relationship, that means one going up, another one going down. We can tell that the relationship is strong or weak or no associations. Okay, the example research questions like, is the time spent on social media associated with the trust in foodies? Is the frequency of the using AI chatbots related to the self-reported stress levels? Is trust in foodie recommendations associated with the likelihood on trying to new restaurant? We can see that this question help us to understand if one variable changes, how another one will changes. Okay, if you think that you would like to make a very big research question, you are ever ambitious, you want to study more comprehensively about a behavior, you can ask some research question in explanatory in nature. You can explain a one variable by associating with other more than one other variables. Okay, remember that we are asked these explanatory questions is just find a set of variables that are associated with the target variable we interest, but the results are not saying that those multiple variables cause the change of the variable we want to explain. Okay, for some examples, what factors are associated with the likelihood of choosing a restaurant recommended foodies? I want to know about why some people like to go to the restaurant that foodies recommends. Any other factors? For example, I trust the foodies more, I go more. Maybe I spend more time on social media, higher association on visiting those recommended restaurants. And also, how about it is related to dining habits? We can make some this type of research questions, but it is I think this is not very easy questions. But if you would like to have a more comprehensive understanding of behavior, explanatory questions or using multiple question can help you a lot in answering this type of the questions. Okay, come again about the using AI chatbot for emotional support and examples. Here are some example questions. In descriptive nature, we can ask, how often do students use AI chatbots for emotional support? Okay, maybe in a week, in a month. Okay, comparative questions. Do first year students and final year students, these are two groups of different people, different in their trust of AI chatbots. Okay, we compare the judgment by their background. The third type, correlation questions, is a student's level of loneliness related to how frequency of using their AI chatbot. We correlate judgment and behavior. Okay, are these judgment and behavior associated? We can ask these research correlation questions as research questions. And then, if you want to study further, you can ask explanatory questions. Which factors are associated with the variation of the student stress level? Okay, amongst those who use AI chatbot for emotional support. Okay, we try to use multiple variables to help explain the variation, the change of an indicator variables. Okay, we have the research questions. I hope that you can follow, and I hope that this can help you, these guidelines, this suggestion can help you to identify or brainstorm suitable, appropriate variables, and then you can link up the variables to become different types of research questions. And then actually, you are very close to know how to do the appropriate statistical analysis. Because time is not enough for me to cover very detailedly or exactly the procedures, I just tell you the names of the method, and then it's very easy for you to Google the instructional manual, videos, whatever. I just let you understand that what types of research questions link up to what sort of the statistic analysis. I think that it's more important for you to know you have to match the research question, match your data types, and then you will know what sort of analysis you are going to find to help you to do the data analysis. Okay, if your research question is descriptive in the nature, okay, I recommend you to do the descriptive statistics. You have using mean, standard deviations to describe the central tendency of the data, variability of data, and also if the data are not in continuous in the nature, you can report the percentage or report the which category contribute largest percentage. Of course, not only numbers, you can use graph to visualize the data. Okay, visualize the data can help you to understand how the data distributed. Using the data, using the line chart help you to visualize the trend, and the trends going up, going down. Using the scatter plots, and I will show you later, showing the nature of association between two variables. And also, you can use bar charts to compare whether the mean differences are mean difference across two groups or more than two groups. Okay, these are the charts. I think it's not difficult to click it in SPSS, but usually we use bar chart, pie chart, histogram, box plot, and scatter plot, line chart in the research. Okay, if we ask the questions to compare a variable across different groups, okay, the first simple, straightforward test we use that is called independent sample t-test. It is used to compare one continuous or like a scale variable between two independent groups or two different groups of people. For example, it is used to answer some research questions like, do male and female students differ in their average satisfaction with online learning? Okay, to answer these questions, we can perform an independent sample t-test to compare the average satisfaction with online learning between male and female students. Okay, is there any difference between interest in foodies between user and non-user of social media? We can also perform a t-test to compare the differences on the trust between two groups. But the world is not simple always. How about if we want to compare variables between more than two groups, 3 groups, 4 groups, and more? Unfortunately, we cannot use independent sample t-test. We need to use another test. That's the sad news about the statistical analysis. If the conditions are changes, we need to find another test. So that you think that the question is quite similar. I want to cram it across group, but why I need to use different statistical analysis? But that's true, man. For those group comparison more than two groups, you cannot use independent sample t-test. You should consider a test called one-way ANOVA. Make sure that you have heard about this name. Okay, what sorts of analysis? Okay, how it's related to the research question? For example, does customer satisfaction different across age group, I specify 3 groups. The first group is 18 to 25, and the second group is 26 to 14, and the third group is 41 plus. We have 3 groups. I want to compare the satisfaction level difference across the 3 groups, so that first we need to perform one-way ANOVA. And then the below 2 questions are also similar problems. We cannot use independent t-tests. We should consider using one-way ANOVA. So next, correlational questions. Okay, the research questions are related to examining the relationship between 2 continuous or like scale variables, and the focus on the correlation analysis is to examine the strength and direction of associations between 2 variables. I think not most of you know about what correlation is. Maybe I spend some time to make your introductions. Okay. Okay, for example, I've got this data set, a very basic data set. The first column is the number of hour study, put on study, okay? The second column, test score, okay? The score of a test. The third column is called anxiety, okay? 1 represent lowest anxiety, maybe 8 or 10 represent more high anxiety. Oh, it's a fake data set. I just want to illustrate what correlation that is, okay? Actually, we got the data set and we can plot the data in this we call scatter plot. For example, if we put study hours in the x-axis and then put the test score into the y-axis, you can see a dot. For example, the first dot at the left bottom corner, it most likely represents the first observation, study hour 2, and then the test score is near about 50. I assume this dot represent that observation, okay? And then you can see that there are many dots on the graph, right? And it seems that this dot follows. It seems that it falls on a straight line, right? Okay, it looks like a very quite difficult, beautiful pattern. When we got this pattern, we know that, oh, if the study hours is about 20, the test score should be around 80, right? Based on the dots, the pattern of dots. Okay, that is the static plot and help you to see that, oh, if the dots are close to a straight line, that means that the association between these 2 variables is strong. And then you can see that the patterns, okay, seems that the values of study hours larger, the test score is also larger at the same time, right? Yeah. So that this chart, this data, and also tell you how the dots distributed, and you can see that is the association positive, negative, or the association is strong or weak. Okay. Positive association, the dots fall looks like that. Negative correlations, the pattern of the dots looks like the green scatter plot. Okay, focus on the right bottom side. If the dots fall very closely, like a straight line, it implies that the association is strong. And then if the dots looks spread each other, smaller scattered, the association between these 2 variables is weak. So I just let you to have a very preliminary idea of what correlation or association between 2 variables are. So Here we're back to the statistical analysis of handling the research question that related to the correlation. Okay, so we can use the correlation analysis. We can click the relevant function in SPSS to answer these research questions. Is there a relationship between time spent on social media and trust in foodies? Is the customer satisfaction related to perceived usefulness of the AI chatbots? Is the frequency of the restaurant visits associated with the influence of the social media KOLs? We can answer the research questions, these type of research questions with correlation analysis, so that you remember the key term correlation analysis. Okay, we go down. Okay, if you want to come across the explanatory questions, you want to explain a variable that particularly interests by a multiple independent variables, you can use multiple regressions. Okay. Yeah, the examples. Sorry. Okay. If we would like to understand more about the restaurant choice intention, okay, how it related to the trust in foodies, frequency of social use, and the age, we can perform a multiple regressions, okay, of the restaurant choice intention. It explained by the other variables that mentioned above. Okay. Okay, I guess I have already introduced some relevant tests related to corresponding research questions. So that I think it's the time finally after 1 hour, I can start talking about how to design a questionnaire finally. Okay. My suggestion is design the questionnaire from the respondent perspective, not researcher perspective. Okay, they fill the questionnaire. Okay, they fill in the questionnaire, not me. So we have to care about their feelings. Okay, I think the well-designed questionnaire for them, okay, should create a trustworthy and a comfortable experience for the participants to fill up the surveys. Okay, let the respondent have confidence, feeling safe. Okay, their trust. Okay, they think that this survey is looks quite good. I can spend time to work on it. Okay, if the questionnaire is not well designed, it's not considerate. Okay, people don't have rights, don't have obligation to complete the questionnaire. Okay, and they will drop out. They will tend to not honestly or reliably, accurately responses. But what we do can be improve our questionnaire quality to expect that your respondent pay more attention and time to complete. Okay, there are some. I suggest some key design principles for building the questionnaires. I'm not covering all, but I choose what I think that's most important to me. Clear and transparent questionnaire introduction. Okay, a good introduction is a good start. Okay, a worse introduction will drive you away, and then close the browser. Okay, keep the questionnaire short and focused. And you need to carefully handling of the sensitive questions. Your language, your word, your sentence used in the questionnaire should be clear and understandable. Avoid some problematic questions such as bias question and double barrel questions. I will come across one by one. Okay, if you see an online survey beginning like this, what do you think? Okay, this survey is for my project. Please help to fill in ASAP. I really need response and I can't graduate, okay? It's super short, trust me. Just answer everything quickly. Please answer all questions. Everyone should be honest. If you don't finish it, my project may fail. So please help me. Thanks a million. Okay, when you see this introduction in an online questionnaires, will you feel very comfortable and will you think that the following questions in the survey online question will be prepared seriously? And I don't know, but I think the first impression is important. Okay. How about the second one? Okay, I think I know that it's a little bit long, okay? Okay, but it looks rather professional than the first one, okay? Okay. And feel that, okay, all this researcher pay a lot of effort, okay? It try to let you to understand what's the survey about, okay? And tell you more about clearly the details of the research, how the data will be used, okay? And then the language is also looks so professional. I think that I feel comfortable in doing the survey, okay? So the first impression is very important, but what are the differences between this one and this one? Okay. I think in the introductions, you should tell you who you are. You know, you are not required to leave your put down your name, but at least you told included where are you from. I'm a final student from department of blah blah blah. I'm now this survey is for my final year project and the study and tell what I'm going to study. The study is about the behavior of using AI chatbots for emotional support, and then write the statement that okay, the response are confidential. I'm very emphasize privacy. Okay, the results are not analyzed individually. We just put it on, aggregate it together to report the mean, so that no one will got the individual responses. And also very important to set right expectations to your participants. How long does the survey to complete? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, at least I give you a number, better than none, okay? And I think it would be good to provide, to leave your email address, okay? Although you don't think that many people will contact you through the email, but leaving the information shows that I'm responsible for the survey, okay? Let's make the respondent feel more, okay, this is a serious design, the survey. Okay, the tones, the language used, okay, giving a good, I'm trying to give a good impressions, okay? And everyone are not have responsibility to help you to write, to help you to give the responses. So be gratitude to their contributions. Okay, thank you. Okay, you don't need to pay too much for saying a thank you, but the respondents may feel better if they are being acknowledged appreciation for their participations. Okay, after I talk about the importance of a good questionnaire introductions, I hope you that your questionnaire can be short and focused. Okay, once you have refined your research questions, actually your questionnaire should not be too long. And I think that the acceptable time for a survey is about 5 to 10 minutes. And any other ideas? I'm not quite sure, but I think less than 10 minutes should be comfortable for the majority of group of the respondents. Okay? And when you're going to design the online questionnaire, I recommend you to break the long survey into separate pages, such that keeping each pages very short. Okay, and then click the next button to the next page. It must better than put all the question in a single page. When I see the scroll bar, okay, it's very so thin. I expect that, oh, so many questions I have to write. I give up. I'm busy. Okay, think about some ways that helping people feeling better. Okay, it's not very long, but I also have responsibility to minimize the number of questions. I don't ask too much questions in order to let you think that, oh, this questionnaire is short and I can complete within a reasonable time. Sensitive information. Okay, sensitive information refers to those questions that make responsible feel uncomfortable, exposed, or concerned about their privacy. And I think that if it is necessary to collect some sensitive information that relevant to research, think carefully. These are the examples, but not only these are can consider as personal information, sensitive information. Okay, if you find that a questionnaire asks about mobile number, address, family income, you might worry. You may think that it may be a fake survey or a scam to steal you the information, right? It's very sensitive that the safety of personal information. So that in the design the questionnaire, you not easily include those personal information, sensitive information, unless it's really closely related to your research questions. Okay, collect only necessary information. I've mentioned that. It's very important to respect respondent privacy. Okay, they are not responsible to tell you all the things, including the secrets in the surveys. Okay, avoid asking sensitive questions whenever possible. Okay, and in case if you want to ask some background information, some income, some relationship status, and if you really need to ask some suggestions, you may consider that is don't put it at the beginning. Okay, so rather sensitive question, personal information, put it later part of the questionnaire. Okay, at the beginning of questionnaire, you may put some questions that they are easily or feel very comfortable for the respondents to respond, and then when they get in later, they find that, oh, it's a little bit a bit concerned, but okay, I already completed more than a half. Okay, it's I think that's not really sensitive, and I will continue to answer the questions more likely. So putting it at the back may be better. Another way is to using the range. You ask the range instead of exact values. For example, asking income, you're not asking about the exact value, but you ask them about the income range. Feels more comfortable to answer, right? Okay, the language, the use of the language in the questionnaires. Okay, the survey question should be clear, simple, and understandable. Okay, and they answer the questions, not you, so that you have to think about their comprehensions, okay? You have to think about the respondent side. So that the first principle you have to aware that is, avoid jargon or technical terms. Participants may not be experts, okay? Look at examples, AI-mediated emotional regulations. Even I learned psychology, I have to think, I'm not sure about what it means. Or even how about the general public? Do you know exactly the term means? Any better choice, any simple wording that carries similar meanings, okay? How often do you use AI chatbots to help manage your emotion when you feel stressed, feel more comfortable? Yes? Avoid vague questions. Don't make your participant guess what you need, okay? When your question is too broad or have you not specify enough, okay, sometimes you not really understand what the question really asks. Okay, make the question more specific. Okay. Double negative, it's very easy to design the questions in long sentence, a complex structure. Okay, don't make your participants struggle to understand the meanings of your questions. It is not good to use double negative. To what extent do you disagree that AI chatbots are not helpful in reducing the stress? Okay, it's not good for a quick understanding. We suggest you answer in a more straightforward, clear way. To what extent do you agree that AI chatbots are helpful in reducing stress? It's more simple and direct. Also, you have to avoid biased questions. Participants have rights to express the opposite views. Okay, biased questions reflect that the researcher's assumptions or opinions and then nudging participants towards a particular answers. Okay, there's misleading question, biased questions. For example, AI chatbots are effective way to reduce student stress. How much you agree? Okay, at least the worst answer is at least agree, and then the another end answer is strongly agree, extremely agree, so that the conclusion is picking an average is all the people agree, right? Okay, it is not a responsible question design. Okay, participants have the right to express disagree. So in the questions, you should ask how much do you agree or disagree that AI chatbots can help reduce student stress, okay? Avoid double barrel questions. Participants may hold different views on each issue. Double barrel question is asking about more than one issue in the same questions. For example, how satisfied are you with AI chatbots for academic support and relationship advice? Rate strongly disagree to strongly agree. Okay, does I check strongly agree means that I satisfy with AI chatbots on academic support and relationship advice at the same time. How about I think that the AI chatbot can give me support, give me useful advice on academic support, but it can't help me to find a girlfriend. So how should I answer? Okay, should I put the middle? Should I put disagree? Okay, so you need to break down into two questions if you are asking two different aspects. Okay, this one wrong question should divide it into how satisfied are you with AI chatbots for academic support? How satisfied are you with AI chatbots for relationships advice? Okay, after the design questionnaire, okay, you can send out the questionnaires to the other friends, post on the social medias, whatever. But before posting, I would recommend you to find some friends or classmates to help you to review the questionnaires before publish your survey. Okay, their friends may have some opinions and some suggestions that may save you from serious mistakes. Okay, I won't spend time on talking about how you do the K correction. I suppose that most of you doing online questionnaires, so that I will skip this part and then talk about data collection after the end of data collections. Okay, because you do the questionnaires, it is a public survey link, so that the data anyone can access, or any box and whatever, you don't know what access your survey link. So you need to check the data carefully when you after you close the survey. Okay, you check whether any invalid response. Some indicators you can check that is, okay, this survey is a long survey. I expect that 10 minutes to complete, but okay, I see a record that only using 30 minutes to complete the questionnaire. Do you think that can be done by the human? Okay, I doubt. And some response showing that, oh, it seems that only the first answer are selected. Are you considered as a real response, a true response? You have to aware of these issues. And also, in your if your survey asks about numerical values, ask your respondents to input numbers, make sure you have to check the numbers. For example, what is the age? It's impossible to input 200, right? Although I say, although you can specify the range of input in the online survey, but sometimes when you forgot it, you have to check the data. I recommend you, whatever you have strict set the restriction in the online survey, please check, go through the data set, open the data set, and check carefully before doing the data analysis. Because when the data analysis is polluted, your results, statistical analysis result, will be affected. So, I believe that you can design the questionnaires and then design the research questions successfully. And then now you are going to do the data analysis to reply your research questions finally. So, first step, I will do a lot of descriptive statistic, plot a lot of graph, and then I got the mean, I got the I see that, okay, group A is the mean is larger than group B in the sample. So I have this observation from my sample, okay, is that to conclude that, okay, is that I've already answered the research questions. Okay, maybe I repeat the questions. When I analyze the data from my sample, from collected data, okay, I observed some association between two variables. I observed some mean difference across some groups. So is that already, I just report the findings and then answer the research questions already. I write it on import and then I close the file and I submit the report. Is that enough? The answer is no. Remember, we are doing the survey for the research for the generalizable knowledge. Okay, we hope that our conclusion, the conclusion from our research questions, not only applied on to the sample that we collect, but we also hope that the results can generalize to those people who are not included in the sample, to the entire population of our target group of studies. Please remember that in the academic survey research, okay, we usually aim for the findings such as observed mean differences and correlation between two variables in the sample. I hope that we can put the observation, extend the results beyond the sample to the populations. Therefore, drawing conclusion about the population require statistical tests. Okay, we are not only need descriptive statistics to answer the research question, but on top of descriptive statistics, we need statistical tests. Okay, maybe you ask why? Why we need to do extra work? Why we can't just report descriptive statistic and then submit the research report? Because there are the stat news about collecting data. In the real world research, we can't collect the data from every individual in our target population. We don't have enough time, enough cost, enough resources. We can't ask every people in the group to answer my survey. Okay? But the good news is we can collect a sample to represent the population. We can collect a smaller group of individuals. Okay? That means we call sample. Okay? They can somehow represent the population. Okay, the analogy that is, okay, you don't need to drink all the water in the ocean to know it is salty, okay? You just drink a little bit, you know that it is salty. It's not a good taste, okay? And so, but this brings another issue. Different sample, if we just collect sample from a strong group of people, different sample contains different people. Different people will give different response. Okay, so that the results are not vary from sample to sample. So that we have to face the issue called sampling uncertainty. But the good news is when we collect more sample, the effects of the sampling uncertainty is reduced. That is good for doing the statistical testing. Okay, here is the graphical illustration of demonstrating sampling uncertainty. The blue people represent the populations. The sample 1 represented by orange, sample 2 green, sample 3 purple, sample 4 yellow, and sample 5 red. You can see that if we ask a measures and then we calculate the mean, I want to let you show that every sample will give you every different results. And even when we're doing a comparison problem between two groups of people, for example, we collect the test score from two groups of people. The first sample that may be, okay, group A much higher than group B, but for the middle, okay, you can see that, okay, group A are almost the same with group B. Or in the second sample, group B, the mean score is higher than group A. You can see that the results across sample are really different. So you may aware that we can't rely on a sample to conclude the overall picture in the population. So that because time is running up, then I will very quickly talk about the statistical test is used to help you to decide whether the observed patterns, for example, mean difference across group, association between two variables are real in population. It is not occurred by the pure chances. Okay, there's some tests I think you have remember about the independent sample t-test, one-way ANOVA, correlation analysis, multiple regressions. So remember that when we want to generalize our findings to population level, we need statistical tests. So the procedures, because time is not allowed to come across one test by one test, I just tell you the basic procedures. Remember that for each research question, you have to select the appropriate test that based on the research question and the data. And then you can run the statistical test with the statistical software using SPSS. You can find the relevant YouTube videos, resources of you. Even you can ask AI how to conduct the test. The key issue that you need to notice is check the p-value. Okay, the p-value is a numbers that generated in the SPSS output. You have to remember one rule. If the p-value is less than 0.05, that means that you have evidence, you have strong enough evidence to say that this pattern are also appear in the populations. So that the p-value, smaller p-value, that means implies stronger evidence that will affect effect exists. Larger p-value means that we don't have enough evidence to conclude that the effect exists on the populations. I don't spend time on the examples, but just let you know that it is the outputs of the SPSS. We, after clicking the buttons, we have just need to check the p-values from the output and decide and check that whether the value is larger than 0.05. It seems that, okay, it's 0.394 is greater than 0.05. That means that we do not have statistical evidence to conclude that the mean differences of 0.7XO is also appear in the population. In the population, we still do not reject the thought, the hypothesis that the means of the two groups are equal. So that's the end, and I want to wrap up the talk by summarizing the key takeaways. In this talk, I mentioned about understand the role of the survey. Okay, you're collecting the self-report data to answer the research questions about decision making, and you need to know that you are not doing the survey for application. You are doing the survey for the research. Remember, survey can't collect every types of data. Okay, remember it works best for non-sensitive informations, collecting the attitudes, perception, habits, experience, or some basic background information. Remember, start with research question, not survey items. Also, it's very important to keep your research focus and narrow. And for designing the online questionnaire, be considerate. And the key takeaways of statistical analysis for survey research, that is, I hope you can aware what is sampling uncertainty. You can't rely on the sample findings to make the conclusion about the overall populations. And I hope you can understand why we need statistical analysis. And I hope that you have more idea or have some ideas of choosing statistical tests that fits your research question and the data. And then finally, you know p-values, the role of the p-value and how to use the p-value for the decisions, whether the observed patterns are also happens on the populations. Final words I want to give you before the end of the talk. It seems that it's not easy to do a survey research, that a lot of work to do, lots of time spent on thinking, deciding, considering, make a lot of consideration, but let you know the truth that is research ready perfect. Okay, having limitation is normal. So that in your first survey research, I hope that you can avoid making major mistakes. Okay, demonstrate what you're going to understand, what you're going to research, going to Are you knowing that which group of the people, what specific focus are you interested to? And also, more importantly, that is, remember the results that we got. You need to aware that the results, which aspect you can apply and which are not, the results are not applicable. And that's the end of my sharing, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Wong, for your sharing. Well, it's the time for the Q&A sessions. Do you have any questions? You are so smart that you understand everything and you don't have any questions? The mobile phone or the question? Okay, Professor Wang.
You mentioned in the presentation about validated scales and what actually it is. So when you saw the example, it's all about a question that we devised, right?
Okay. These validated scales are already developed and peer reviewed by a group of expert researchers. Okay, let me go back the slides. Okay. There are some group of the researchers, psychologists, or even academic experts. Okay, they want to measure some psychological status that are really difficult to measure. Okay, they use the expert power, expertise, knowledge to design the questionnaire that are reliable and valid to measure the specific psychological status. These questionnaires are developed carefully and they take time to collect the data and do a lot of statistical analysis, lots of validated, lots of testing to claim that these items, okay, are reliably, accurately reflect the specific, the measuring the psychological status. For example, stress, anxiety is not just arbitrarily designed or just someone arbitrarily say I'm in stress, I'm not happy. It's totally different. Those are the academic experts. They spend a lot of time collecting metadata, do a lot of statistical data analysis to build up this psychological instrument or scales for measuring particular psychological states.
Just follow up. Can we use others' questionnaire? So, for example, you just mentioned that others has developed the scale. Can in our survey, in our project, capstone project, honors project, can we use others' work? And where can we find these items?
I think that internet is a very good resources for finding questionnaire, but more I want to let you aware that is the source and authority who publish this questionnaire. And then I think that if you find some questionnaire in university published journals, it's the fact that survey are more likely that peer reviewed, more likely that expert reviewed the questionnaire. I think that it's more confidence to use the items. But remember that if you use some specific scales that, for example, measuring psychological status, stress, satisfactions, that you have to acknowledge the reference, the articles of that scales. Otherwise, if you're asking about some behavioral judgment scales, I think that you can also make references to the some I think the surveys from more authorized units, but it's important to cite their references. But if you think that you're just doing a random internet search and then click some results and you don't know about which the unit, the organization do the survey, you have to consider very carefully whether this questionnaire quality is that and contains any biased questions. Is that questionnaire considerate, and is this questionnaire well designed? That's my recommendations for you to check about the source where the questionnaire is from, and think carefully whether you take some, or even not consider this information obtained. Yeah.
You suggest all of us should do a questionnaire or survey online nowadays, and
Yeah.
I know there are different platforms to let us use for collecting data, like Qualtrics. And
Yeah.
is that actually simply using Google Form is good enough, or some more complex platform would be even better? What is your suggestion for that?
And my personal suggestion is, if you are, it is for your first survey, okay, your questions should limit it to very few straightforward types of the data you're asking, some background demographics, some using like a scale, asking some agreement of the judgment, inputting some numbers. Using Google Form, Microsoft Forms are already sufficient. Qualtrics is a very commercial survey system that help support more about survey management, support more complicated, beautiful design of the survey, more complicated skip logic, branching, and I think that if we are very clear about our research questions, actually, a very simple questionnaire, okay, as that survey platform that provide basic functions are already sufficient for most, or I think I am confident to say all of the students who first time doing their survey research.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's give the big applause to Wong. Yeah, thank you so much for your sharing. They learn a lot, and definitely that will be helpful for you in preparing for your research project.